That rainy night, Scarlet wasn't looking for danger, but it found her. One look was all it took for Tomas to set fire to everything she thought was safe. Across the street, Henry saw it before she did. Her life had just been split in two. Caught between forbidden fire and the loyalty that weighed her down, Scarlet was sure of only one thing. The next step could destroy them all. That rainy night, Scarlet wasn't looking for danger, but it found her. Tomas's gaze cut through the heavy air of the city like a blade. She didn't want it, yet she couldn't resist. It was as if her body reacted before her mind had the chance to protest. Pain and desire collided, every heartbeat warning her she was crossing a line she could never come back from. Henry, standing at a distance, was the first to notice the spark that was about to turn into a fire. Tomas said nothing, but he didn't have to. The way he stepped closer, steady and intense, made Scarlet feel the ground disappear beneath her feet. He carried that magnetic pull, irresistible and frightening all at once, the perfect essence of a forbidden romance. The brief touch of his hand as he shielded her from the rain was enough to send heat rushing through her skin, leaving her defenseless. It was dangerous passion, a secret love coming to life right before Henry's eyes. Henry watched with the calm of a man who carried authority, but his eyes betrayed the pain inside. He had always been her safe harbor, the kind of man who could give Scarlet what any woman might dream of: stability, tenderness, trust. And yet, under the storm, all of that felt small compared to Tomas's intensity. Scarlet felt torn between two truths: the impossible love that burned inside her and the safety that threatened to suffocate her. The rain poured harder, as if the city itself were witnessing the birth of this love triangle. Scarlet's heart pounded so loud it nearly drowned out the thunder. Tomas drew even closer, his warm breath cutting through the night's chill, and whispered something Henry couldn't hear. That single moment was enough to ignite a silent explosion, creating an invisible battlefield between the three of them. Every glance was a promise, every movement a challenge. What seemed like nothing more than an encounter had become a sentence. Scarlet knew she stood between two opposing forces, the passion that consumed her and the love that was meant to save her. But the truth was, there was no turning back. When fate sets fire and ice against each other, someone always gets burned. And that night, Scarlet discovered that desire can be more dangerous than any weapon. But the worst was still to come. Tomas's gaze burned against Scarlet's skin. He didn't ask for permission when he pulled her by the waist, pressing her against the rain-soaked wall. The chill of the concrete clashed with the heat of his body, wrapping around her like a delicious prison. Her heartbeat stumbled out of rhythm, every breath a silent cry of surrender. Just a few steps away, Henry felt the ground shake beneath him at the sight. Scarlet gasped when Tomas gripped her hair firmly, tilting her head back. The gesture was bold and dangerous, leaving her powerless to resist. His lips hovered closer, brushing against her skin, sending shivers racing through her in sharp waves. The heat of his breath, mingling with the sound of the storm, stretched each second into eternity. It was raw desire, tangible, impossible to ignore. His fingers traced her waist with controlled strength, claiming her without a word. Scarlet felt every muscle of his body pressed against hers, as if he wanted to leave his mark on her very existence. His touch was firm, forbidden, intoxicating, leaving her breathless. The collision of danger and pleasure created an almost unbearable tension, as if the world itself was about to explode around them. Henry couldn't bear to watch, yet he couldn't look away. His love for Scarlet was real, but in that moment, he understood that passion and safety had never been deadlier enemies. In her eyes, he saw the reflection of a desire that had never belonged to him. His heart was breaking, but anger spread through him like poison, laying the ground for a silent war between brothers. When Tomas's lips finally found Scarlet's, there was no turning back.
The kiss was fierce, soaked in rain, charged with force and surrender. Scarlet drowned in his taste, feeling every second was far too dangerous to last. And still she craved more. The ragged breaths, the firm pull on her hair, the grip of his hand pinning her waist to the wall. She knew she was standing at the edge of an abyss. And still, she chose to fall.
Scarlet felt the world stop when Tomas pulled her close, his body pressed firmly against hers. His touch on her waist sent shivers racing down her spine, and she lost herself in that forbidden heat. Every shared breath burned hotter than the fire of desire itself. She tried to pull away, but the intensity in his eyes held her captive. It was impossible to resist such dangerous passion, even knowing the risk. When Tomas tilted his head, his lips found hers with urgency, stealing Scarlet's breath. The kiss was a mix of softness and possession, a silent warning that he wanted all of her, with no barriers left between them. From a distance, Henry watched, his heart tightening, powerless against the explosive connection unfolding before him. Scarlet could feel every touch, every sigh, every uneven beat of her own heart. The danger of their secret love only made the moment more intense. The kiss deepened, Tomas gripping her hair firmly, guiding every movement with irresistible desire. Scarlet let out a quiet moan, caught between pleasure and guilt, knowing it was as wrong as it was impossible to deny. Every touch left invisible marks, memories no one else could erase. Their forbidden passion burned through their bodies, and the tension of the love triangle only fueled the fire. Nothing seemed to matter beyond that moment of total surrender. Henry couldn't stop himself from moving closer, yet something in Scarlet seemed to push him away. She was lost to Tomas, body and soul, and every move he made pulled her further from the world outside. The love triangle grew more dangerous with every passing second, every glance heavy with desire or rage. Scarlet's heart pounded, fear and longing tangled in every breath. It was a dangerous dance, but one so seductively irresistible that no one could stop it. When Tomas finally broke the kiss, Scarlet was left breathless, still pressed against Tomas's body. Her fingers trembled, her skin still burning from every touch. She knew this would only heighten the tension with Henry, but desire was stronger than any reason. Every second with Tomas burned like fire, and Scarlet couldn't help but wonder how far she was willing to go. But the worst was yet to come. Henry stepped into the room and felt the air turn cold at the sight of Scarlet, still breathless in Tomas's arms. His chest burned with rage and desire, a mix that pushed him to the edge of madness. Every gesture she shared with Tomas was a knife to his heart, and the urge to claim his place grew stronger by the second. Scarlet caught his gaze and shivered, a rush of fear and excitement running through her veins. The tension of the love triangle was about to ignite into visible sparks. Tomas didn't flinch before Henry's fury. If anything, it only deepened his hold on Scarlet. His hand gripped her waist firmly, as if declaring that no one else could touch her. Scarlet felt the heat between them, rising with each touch, sending waves of shivers and involuntary sighs. The forbidden passion grew more dangerous with every passing moment, each second a temptation too powerful to resist. Henry, consumed by jealousy, drew closer, ready for whatever confrontation awaited. The atmosphere crackled when Henry tried to pull Scarlet away, but Tomas refused to yield. A subtle clash, hands colliding, bodies brushing, and the tension exploded with every breath. Scarlet felt trapped between two worlds, two desires, two men who wanted all of her. In this love triangle, there were no rules, only danger and attraction laced into every movement. The fight for Scarlet's heart was becoming as fierce as any physical battle. Scarlet tried to intervene with words, but her body betrayed her mind, surrendering to Tomas's touch and Henry's gaze. Every shiver, every sigh only fed the storm of danger and desire.
She knew she was caught in a passion as perilous as it was intoxicating, and that knowledge thrilled her as much as it terrified her. Secret love, forbidden longing, everything was tangled in a tempest of emotions too strong to control. Every second with them was an explosion of tension and feeling. The moment reached its peak when Tomas suddenly pulled Scarlet close, holding her with a firm, possessive grip. Henry froze, breathing hard, struggling to contain the fury that chilled his veins. Scarlet felt the heat of Tomas's body and the force of Henry's presence, a combination that left her breathless. She knew the worst was still to come, yet she couldn't imagine resisting the passion consuming her heart. In that instant, every choice seemed impossible.
The tension finally erupted when Henry, unable to contain his fury, shoved Tomas against the wall. The impact made Scarlet catch her breath, her heart racing wildly between fear and excitement. Every muscle in Henry's body trembled with rage and desire, as if each move was a claim on Scarlet. Tomas stood his ground unyielding, keeping her close, sending involuntary shivers across her skin. The love triangle had reached a breaking point where passion and danger blurred into one. Scarlet felt her body pressed harder against Tomas as Henry drew near, his hands cracking through the air with restrained force. She was caught between two worlds, two desires she could not resist, every touch sparking chills down her spine. The heat of Tomas's skin, the fire in Henry's gaze, it all collided in a dangerous dance of attraction and threat. She knew she was on the edge of something impossible, but she had no will to step back. Every breath she took seemed to fuel their rivalry even more. The physical clash mingled with the emotional one, every gesture loaded with intent and desire. Tomas held Scarlet tightly, his hand sliding along her back while Henry tried to pull her away. The shiver running down her spine wasn't just fear. It was a thrill she never thought she could feel. Each movement, each touch pushed the moment into greater intensity, greater danger. Scarlet was utterly lost, torn between the safety she once knew and the burning passion Tomas embodied. Henry refused to back down, his hands flexing in the air, his frustration turning into something almost tangible. Scarlet could feel the scent of adrenaline and desire swirling together, each second making it harder to know where her heart belonged. Possessive, Tomas whispered her name with raw intensity, making her body tremble with anticipation. The tension between the three of them exploded in every touch, every glance charged with forbidden intent. The moment couldn't grow more dangerous, yet Scarlet had never felt more alive. And then, in a moment of vulnerability, Scarlet gave in to Tomas's fierce kiss, ignoring Henry's gaze that froze her blood. The struggle for control had no winners, only conflicting desires consuming her from within. Every touch, every shiver, every sigh blurred the lines between love, passion, and danger. She knew the worst was yet to come, but she couldn't deny the magnetism that bound them together. And there, caught between rage and desire, the story of their love triangle was only just beginning. Scarlet could hardly believe what she had uncovered about Tomas and Henry, secrets buried for years now erupting before her eyes. Each revelation made her heart pound faster, weaving fear and desire into a dangerous dance. Tomas exposed scars from his past, memories that made him both intense and impossible to resist. Henry, in turn, revealed a hidden vulnerability, leaving her intrigued and more divided than ever. The love triangle deepened, and Scarlet found herself caught in a web of forbidden passion. As she listened to Tomas recount old rivalries, Scarlet felt her body tingle with excitement. Every word he spoke seemed to graze her skin, sending shivers she couldn't control.
Sensing the closeness between them, Henry stepped forward, his hand sliding firmly around her waist. The clash of desire and loyalty made every moment electric, almost unbearable. She wondered how she could resist two men who awakened so much danger and pleasure at once. Long-buried secrets from Henry were laid to bear, revealing hidden motives, suppressed passion, and broken promises. Scarlet stood between shock and fascination, absorbing every confession, every gesture heavy with emotion. Tomas, aware of the tension, closed the distance, gripping her hair and pulling her against him. The heat of the moment made Scarlet forget the world around her for a few fleeting seconds. Every touch carried both threat and seduction, impossible to separate. The truth about both men shifted Scarlet's perspective, forcing her to realize just how vulnerable she really was. A shiver ran through her as Tomas clasped her hand tightly, his gaze radiating intensity and possession. Refusing to give up his place, Henry moved closer again, his touch sparking uncontrollable chills across her skin. Pain, passion, and fear blended into something dangerously addictive. Scarlet knew that every choice could alter her life forever, yet desire kept her bound. When Scarlet tried to step back, Tomas seized her waist and pinned her to the wall, while Henry's fiery eyes burned into her. Every sigh, every touch, every glance made it impossible to choose between safety and burning passion. The love triangle grew more volatile with each passing second, and Scarlet let herself be consumed by clashing emotions. The past only made the danger sharper, and the attraction even more irresistible. And deep inside, she knew the worst was yet to come.
Scarlet felt Henry's gaze trace every curve of her body, sending shivers only he could awaken. Tomas, on the other hand, held her with a force that blended possession and desire, making it clear he would not let her go so easily. Every gesture, every whisper carried the tension of a forbidden romance where pleasure and danger danced side by side. She stood caught in the middle, between overwhelming control and seductive vulnerability, unable to choose. Her heart pounded unevenly, every breath a silent pact with danger. Henry stepped closer, his fingers sliding through Scarlet's hair, sparking tremors that made her shudder involuntarily. Tomas, sensing the threat, tightened his grip on her waist with intensity, every touch of his a declaration of possession. The love triangle turned every moment into a game of power and desire, where each move could erupt into passion or conflict. Scarlet knew what she felt was impossible to control, but the heat of passion was irresistible. Every second with the two men heightened both the risk and the intensity of her emotions. Rain beat against the windows, merging with the heat of their bodies, and Scarlet felt swept into a whirlwind of emotions. Tomas pulled her against the wall, kissing her fiercely, while Henry gripped her shoulders, bringing his lips close in a provocative challenge. Each touch, each whisper was a blend of desire and threat, a dangerous dance that left her breathless. Scarlet felt both safe and vulnerable at once, caught between pleasure and fear. The night was transforming into a minefield of emotions she could not resist. Closing her eyes, Scarlet surrendered to the touch of both men, her body responding in ways she had never imagined. Tomas tangled his fingers in her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, while Henry traced her skin with skillful fingers. Every shiver that coursed through her body was a reminder that she was living something forbidden, intense, and irresistible. The illicit romance turned every gesture into a silent promise of both pleasure and pain. She knew the temptation was impossible to ignore, and her heart begged for more. At the height of the night, Scarlet realized nothing would ever be simple. Tomas's fierce desire and Henry's seductive vulnerability tore at her in an almost unbearable conflict. Every touch, every look only fueled the intensity of the love triangle, making resistance impossible. Scarlet knew that surrendering to the impossible would test her limits, her courage, and her ability to yield to desire. But the worst was still to come. Scarlet walked through the hall, her breath unsteady, acutely aware of every glance Tomas and Henry cast her way. The subtle brush of Henry's hand against hers sent ice through her veins, while Tomas's firm grip on her waist awakened a shiver she could not contain. Every secret she kept between them was a spark waiting to ignite, turning their forbidden romance into a dangerous game. Scarlet felt that each choice could either set passions ablaze or unravel into absolute chaos. The night itself seemed to conspire against her, and her heart raced wildly. In the moonlit garden, Scarlet found herself torn between Henry's desire and the safety Tomas offered, knowing that surrendering to either could change everything. Henry pulled her close with a gaze that burned with intensity, while Tomas, sensing the threat, stepped forward with a possessive force that sent chills down her spine. Every gesture was charged with tension, every touch a promise. Scarlet realized that the forbidden romance she was living knew no limits, and danger had become irresistibly seductive. She wondered if she could resist, or if she would finally surrender to temptation. A fine rain began to fall, mingling with the heat of skin against skin. Tomas held her against his chest, his body radiating warmth against the cold of the night, while Henry's fingers threaded through her hair, sending shivers down her body. Scarlet was caught in a storm of emotions, unable to separate pleasure from fear, desire from pain. Every second with the two men heightened the intensity of the love triangle, and her heart screamed for answers she wasn't yet brave enough to give. Vulnerability and desire intertwined in overwhelming force. Scarlet drew a deep breath, knowing that secrets revealed at midnight could come at a high cost. Tomas's gaze locked with hers, an intensity burning through every fiber of her being, while Henry, close at her side, whispered words that scorched her skin like fire. The dangerous passion between them turned every choice into a risk-laden thrill. Scarlet knew that each moment lived was a step towards the impossible, where pain and pleasure danced as one. The night stretched endlessly, and the game between desire and danger had only just begun. In the end, Scarlet realized that nothing would ever be the same. Every decision, every touch carried consequences that could turn their forbidden romance into something even more perilous. Tomas and Henry were opposing forces, and yet both irresistible, and she was caught at the very center of their storm. Scarlet's heart beat in sync with the tension that surrounded them, knowing each choice would change her life forever, but the worst was still to come. Night fell heavy over the city, and Scarlet's heart raced as she saw Tomas waiting in the shadows. Every step he took carried authority and desire, sending chills across her skin before he even touched her. Henry arrived moments later, his presence igniting the air, filling it with an electric tension that was impossible to ignore. Scarlet was trapped between them, every glance, every gesture making her body respond instinctively. The love triangle had become a dangerous dance of forbidden passion and vulnerability. Tomas moved closer with certainty, seizing Scarlet by the waist and pressing her against the wall, the heat of his body almost melting into hers. Then came Henry's touch, softer yet equally intense, gliding along her arms and leaving shivers that made her dizzy. The silent battle between the two men only heightened the tension, every touch growing bolder, harder to resist. Scarlet didn't know whether to flee or surrender completely. Dangerous desire consumed them all, each second more addictive than the last. Between kisses and touches, Scarlet caught the hidden vulnerability in Henry's eyes, while Tomas radiated power and control in every move. Every breath was an invitation to ruin, and she felt more alive than ever before. The heat of Tomas's kiss, the pressure of his body pinning her against the wall, set her blood on fire, while Henry whispered words that sent shivers down her spine. Scarlet was torn, the love triangle transforming into a silent battle of danger and longing. Forbidden passion consumed her, leaving her breathless and without clear choices. When Tomas's hand tangled in her hair, pulling her firmly closer, Scarlet lost any remaining trace of reason. A soft moan escaped her, powerless against the heat of his body. But Henry was there too,
edging nearer, his presence stoking a tension she could no longer ignore. Every gesture, every shiver, every sigh intensified the dangerous weave of passion surrounding her. Scarlet knew that giving in fully would change everything forever. The triangle had reached heights no one could have foreseen, and the night promised secrets even more explosive. As the rain began to fall, cold and relentless, Scarlet felt each drop mix with the heat of their bodies. Tomas gripped her waist tightly while Henry reached out for a forbidden touch that made her heart explode. Every instant carried tension, desire, and fear, the line between pleasure and danger vanishing into nothing. Scarlet was lost between two worlds, between safety and burning passion, and she knew this night would change everything. But the worst was still to come. The night seemed to stretch on endlessly, and Scarlet felt every touch from Tomas etching itself into her skin, as if marking her soul. Henry watched each movement, each stifled moan, and the silent desire in his eyes was impossible to ignore. She was torn between Tomas's relentless control and Henry's seductive vulnerability. Every choice felt dangerous, every gesture heavy with consequences that could change everything. The forbidden romance burned within her, and her heart wavered between reason and desire. When Tomas's hand tangled in her hair, pulling her firmly closer, Scarlet lost any remaining trace of reason. A soft moan escaped her, powerless against the heat of his body. But Henry was there too, edging nearer, his presence stoking a tension she could no longer ignore. Every gesture, every shiver, every sigh intensified the dangerous weave of passion surrounding her. Scarlet knew that giving in fully would change everything forever. The outlava triangle transformed into a silent battle of passion and danger. Her body reacted instinctively, every touch igniting a fire she couldn't put out. The adrenaline of the night rose higher, blending pleasure and fear into every breath. Each choice she made seemed to drag her deeper into peril, making the passion both irresistible and inescapable. The cold rain mingled with the heat of their bodies, every drop falling like a silent witness to what was unfolding. Tomas's grip on her waist was unyielding, while Henry's fingers slitted through her hair, drawing tremors of desire that made Scarlet shiver. The tension was nearly unbearable, the line between pleasure and danger dissolving completely. Every moment was a reminder of how perilous and intoxicating the triangle had become. The night unveiled secrets and desires Scarlet had never imagined she could feel. Scarlet closed her eyes, surrendering to every touch, every sigh, every shiver that coursed through her. Tomas exuded power and control, every kiss fierce and consuming, while Henry revealed a seductive vulnerability that left her shaken. She knew any choice could bring irreversible consequences, but she couldn't resist the intensity of forbidden passion. Every movement, every gesture made the night more dangerous, more exhilarating. Her heart pounded unevenly, caught between love, desire, and fear. When the storm reached its peak, Scarlet realized nothing would ever be the same. Tomas and Henry stood before her, each offering something she could never fully choose. Dangerous desire burned through her veins, and forbidden passion turned every touch into a silent promise of both pleasure and pain. Scarlet knew the night still held surprises, secrets and decisions that would test her limits. But the worst was still to come.
Scarlet stepped into the room and found Tomas and Henry locked in a heavy silence, each measuring the other with eyes burning with intensity. The air felt charged with electricity, as if a single breath could ignite into a clash. Her heart raced, shivers running down her spine, while each man displayed his possessiveness in a way that was almost tangible. The forbidden romance they shared now flirted with real danger, and Scarlet knew that one wrong move could unleash a storm. It was impossible to separate desire from threat, pleasure from risk. Henry closed in with a boldness that seared Scarlet's skin, taking her arm and pressing her lightly against the wall. His touch sent a mixture of fear and desire coursing through her, stealing her breath, while Tomas watched every move, holding the tension with his quiet strength. Scarlet felt the love triangle grow even more intense, every look and gesture weighted with dangerous passion and vulnerability. It was a dance of emotions that left her both fascinated and terrified. Every second stretched the suspense, and she wondered how much further she could go before giving in. Outside, the rain drummed against the windows, but inside the room, the heat rose with every step Henry and Tomas took closer. Scarlet felt fingers slide through her hair with both force and tenderness, firm hands that showed control but also an unstoppable hunger. The forbidden romance had become physical and emotional, a game of power and seduction that flared with every touch. Shivers ran from the nape of her neck to the tips of her fingers, every gesture etching a mark of desire deep into her skin and soul. Danger now had an almost addictive taste. At last, Tomas broke the silence, his voice low and steady, making Scarlet tremble. "You can't deny what you feel." Henry gave a provocative laugh, stepping closer with equal intensity. "And who says we want you to deny it?" Scarlet's chest tightened, caught between passion and reason, a secret love and the fear of what might come next. Every word sunk into her mind, feeding the tension and the desire already consuming her. Their forbidden romance was now a game of extreme emotions, and she could no longer protect herself from it. At the height of the tension, Scarlet realized that nothing would ever be the same again. Every touch, every look, every word carried an intensity that threatened to explode into unpredictable consequences. The love triangle had become irresistibly dangerous, and she found herself trapped between pleasure and peril, unable to resist the pull of Tomas and Henry. Vulnerability and desire wove together, making every moment electrifying and terrifying. But the worst was still to come. Scarlet drew in a deep breath, heat rising through her body as she faced Tomas and Henry, each of them watching her with eyes full of desire and possessiveness. The tension of the love triangle had reached its breaking point, and she knew that any decision could change everything forever. Every touch, every whisper carried the promise of both pleasure and danger, making her heart race. The forbidden romance had passed the point of no return, leaving her vulnerable, yet strangely empowered. The dangerous passion was about to erupt. Tomas stepped closer, pulling her by the waist and pressing her firmly against him, every tense muscle of his body vibrating in sync with hers. Henry was no less intense, running his hand through her hair and tugging her gently toward him. Scarlet was caught between them, desire burning like fire. Their rivalry was fierce, but each move only deepened her excitement. The secret love they shared now had form, scent, and taste, and Scarlet couldn't resist it. Her senses were on high alert, the trace of Tomas's cologne, Henry's steady touch, the hot breath of both men at her neck. Every movement was a game of power and surrender, a battle of wills transforming into pure passion. Shivers coursed through her at every caress, every stolen kiss, every firm hand in her hair, and she knew she was completely consumed by this forbidden romance. The intensity of the moment left no space for thought, only the pull of the desire binding them together. At the peak of the night, Scarlet finally let go without fear, surrendering to Tomas and Henry without resistance. The love triangle turned into a choreography of dangerous passion, where each kiss and touch grew deeper, stronger, more unforgettable than the last. She felt more alive than ever before, every breath and caress searing her skin and mind. Vulnerability and desire became indistinguishable, and Scarlet realized there was no turning back. The forbidden romance was now her reality, intense, inescapable, irresistible. Scarlet realized that the desire and dangerous passion she felt weren't just fleeting moments, but forces that would shape her life forever. Every touch, every shiver, every stolen kiss had left deep marks on her heart and soul. She had learned that to love in secret brings pain, but it also reveals vulnerability, courage, and an intensity few ever dare to experience. Now, faced with impossible choices, Scarlet had to decide who truly deserved her heart, without losing herself to Tomas's irresistible pull or Henry's dark magnetism. And what about you? Have you ever felt that kind of passion that blends fear and desire, that explodes inside you and breaks every rule? Think about it. What secret love would you allow yourself to live, even knowing it could burn everything down? If you were swept away by this story and felt every shiver, every moment of tension and desire, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you'll keep discovering stories that test the heart, explore vulnerability, and remind us that sometimes the forbidden romance is also the most intense and unforgettable. And remember, true love may be dangerous, but it always transforms.